Let me bring in the panel. I think the better way to just talk about tonight is it's establishment night at the convention, okay? It's people that political junkies will recognize. Let me bring in the panel, formerly Michael Gerson, Washington Post columnist, but most importantly today, a former speechwriter for George W. Bush, Hugh Hewitt, host of the Hugh Hewitt Show on Salem Radio Network, as well as an NBC News political analyst. And he was a Nixon ghostwriter, so he's ghost-written, hopefully not ghost-plagiarized. And of course, Susan Page of USA Today, Washington bureau chief there, that if you ever did plagiarize, the whole world would attack you for it. Welcome all. Michael, I want to start with you.
Sure.
Explain the process that goes through writing a speech for someone like a political spouse who doesn't give many speeches. Explain what you think of, what process you do when you have to write a speech for someone that doesn't give a lot of speeches.
Yeah, it will be a pretty extensive process for her to get comfortable with the text. She's not normally doing this. And, you know, it will have input from several sources, which may be part of the problem in trying to determine where things come from, because it's not just one speechwriter or another speechwriter. It doesn't really work that way.
You've been there before where you've literally gotten all sorts of
There's
suggestions.
Input from 5 or 6 people that are important in a speech, so it becomes hard to disaggregate.
Hugh, this is one of those scenarios. The number one is, here we are, we're about 15 hours removed from the controversy. They haven't taken any action. They've decided to, like, all right, let's try to blame the media and Clinton. Maybe folks will buy that. Not a lot of folks are buying it.
No, I would try and pivot. I'd start talking about spousal honesty, and maybe some of the speeches will tonight, but it did drain the joy out of a night last night that began with, I thought the Cotton Giuliani Melania was a great Tinker's to Evers chance opening for a night. We had some mojo in the hall. There was some joy in the hall. It's deflated again.
And if it had been scheduled properly, it could have been an even better. I mean, I would say it wasn't well crafted, the schedule.
They had 20 minutes left in the primetime hour.
Yeah, they really blew that. Susan, this Trump campaign, though, it just seems like it is in an utter mess. I didn't even bring up the Pence rollout. Well, and to me, if you back this up, a convention begins with your VP rollout. Nothing has gone right, I could argue, in this convention rollout.
And, you know, he has 3 big opportunities to reach voters who aren't already for him. He had the VP rollout. That didn't go well. He's got the convention, which so far has been very difficult.
There's still time.
And he's got the debates.
Yeah.
So can he do what Paul Manafort says he wants and needs to do in this convention, which is to convince voters who are maybe a little skeptical of him that he's in fact a 3-dimensional guy they could trust to be president? And they have not done that so far.
You know what's interesting about last night, Hugh, is it wasn't until Rudy that I heard a testimonial for Donald Trump. A lot of last night was about Hillary Clinton, was about the state of the nation through a certain point of view. But it wasn't until Rudy that you heard, what about Trump? And even Melania's speech didn't give you personal anecdotes about Trump. This is a missing element right now.
Sean Smith's mom was very raw and very
no
moving.
doubt.
Marcus Luttrell very long and moving. Tom Cotton connected it to Rudy. Rudy took it up, but they need more.
Who's
like
connected it to Trump?
That too. And that when they lost the first day in Tampa to the hurricane, they lost the biography day, which should have been last night, right?
Right. It seemed like biography has been missing here.
I think Republicans across the country, donors and others, were in a desperate search for reassurance coming into this campaign. There hasn't been message control. There hasn't been damage control. I mean, those are the basic skills that are necessary for an effective campaign.
Well, I'm going to pause you guys here because you're going to transition to my next guest with that comment. I'm going to make him respond to it. I'm sure he's going to be excited about that. Trump campaign co-chair Sam Clovis, friend of the show. Sam, always good to talk to you, sir.
Great to see you, Chuck. Good to see you out of Washington.
I'm sorry you're not here on set, but I want to ask you to respond to what Michael Gerson just said. A lot of Republicans were looking at this convention wanting reassurance, and instead a lack of message control and a lack of damage control is the way he sees it. How do you respond?
Well, I think, you know, I've just been listening to the commentary here today and with you and then all the rest of it so far today. And it's a lot of the inside baseball people that are in here critiquing this down to the 4th decimal place. I don't have a problem with that because I'm one of those guys too. But I think what we really have to wait and see is what the polls do after the convention. And right now, I think that we're sitting pretty good, and we'll see if any of this matters to the general voting public coming out of the convention.
But Sam, are you concerned that you look at, I mean, let's set the Melania Trump episode aside. Just sort of in the way last night was organized, it seemed a little chaotic. and you've been around a lot of these. How much
Yeah.
did you want to go in there and say, wait a minute, why did we do that? How did Joni Ernst speak to a half-empty arena at 11:30 at night and things like that?
Well, I don't have anything. One, I don't have anything to do with that. But I agree. Some of the optics were probably problematic as we went on through the evening. But I want to tell you, I got involved early. It was emotional for me, particularly when Marcus Luttrell was up on the stage. I know Marcus, and I know what he's gone through. I know I spent 25 years in the service, and making that connection to me the way he did, I thought it was phenomenal. Rudy blew the doors off. So I think from my perspective, I think a lot of people have short memories. I don't think they remember back to some of the conventions that we've had back in the 60s and 70s. Right. Certainly I do. I'm old enough to remember that, and I think maybe there's some people on your panel, maybe not. But I certainly remember some chaotic conventions, not always in the Republican Party. 68 comes to mind.
Right. Hey, you know, you this morning with my colleague Stephanie Rule, you talked about, hey, I'm a college professor. I know how to check papers for plagiarism. And does somebody need to be held accountable here? Are you, as a co-chair, a representative of the Trump campaign, internally going, hey, we need to hold somebody accountable for this mess?
I'm sure it's being looked into. This is one of those things that you have to correct, and you have to take action to make sure it never happens again. That's exactly what I told Stephanie this morning.
All right, Sam Clovis, campaign co-chair. You're not mincing words. I appreciate it.
Well,
Thanks
you bet.
very much.
Always, Chuck.
All right.
You bet.
Michael, Hugh, and Susan, very quickly, what do you make? Sam's not doing the Manafort line.
Well, you know, it's not good when people are saying I had nothing to do with that. If there are too many people saying I had nothing to do with it, that's not a good day.
It doesn't even mention the conflict they invited with the governor, the Kasich.
No, we didn't bring that up.
Exactly. That was, I think, Paul Manafort's error.
An unforced error.
Unforced error added into all of this.
Sam said they've got to take some action. They're not ready yet to do that, and they're not going to get rid of this unless they do something more decisive than what they've done so far.
One piece of good news for him, though, Sam is right on one thing. Donald Trump's speech, if he knocks it out of the park, can be the only thing anybody remembers from here if you do it right.
Yeah.
Right? All right. All is not lost for the Trump campaign. Susan, Hugh, Michael, thank you very much.